firstly, do you have any recent updates about the Right to Repair initiative?
Okay, first of all, I'm not a right to repair expert, but I do keep my eye on it quite a lot because I think it's very relevant to what we're doing. And I just know, basically, like in the US, they are covering 14 US states who are putting right to repair into their laws. Where they're actually at in delivering that, I'm not 100% certain, but I know that's covered that way in the USA. Actually worth saying that the drivers of right to repair seems to have come mainly from the mobile phone market, the Apple market, to be honest with you, the Apple products, because they're one of the largest companies to actually prevent their products being repaired unless people are authorised to do so, and it's quite expensive, as you know. So it's worth saying that. But in the UK, at the moment, there are repair groups looking to lobby the government, the UK government, on finding more ambitious regulations and make that a priority in the near future, because they haven't really covered all the products that they want to cover in that repair community. You know, so the main stuff is white goods and televisions, for example, but they want to push for the phones and the laptops, etc., which, as I said, I think that's largely been driven by the Apple crowd. And you know, we totally agree with them that they should have some right to repair, but there are other issues to think about when you do that repair, which maybe we can come on to in one or two of the other questions. But in their UK lobbying, recent lobbying, in the last few days, they're actually saying they want access to spare parts and repair information for DIYers, you know, do it yourself. And that kind of takes away what they used to say, that they were professional repairers. They call themselves professional repairers, but we see from Europe and from the UK that manufacturers are saying, well, they consider professional repairers, which, and I've spoken to them before about this, they consider professionals to be someone who's got qualifications. And that's something we're trying to help with, by offering opportunities to become professional and gather everybody into a central EEESafe kind of register, where we've got something for white goods expertise and something for the general electrical appliance repair expertise. There's something we can do there. That's called EEESafe, which is used electronic and electrical equipment. So EEESafe is basically for the white goods, where we've got a certification and qualification route. And EEESafe is really for the smaller appliances and the IT equipment, such as you see in phones, laptops, cameras, etc. Because it's quite important that the products are done safely. So that's really a quick update on what I'm saying, what I feel that right to repair is at the moment. And they're also trying to get rid of VAT, reduce it or get rid of it for repairs. That's no bad thing, but all the governments want to try and raise taxes to fund other issues, but I think safety is quite a key one. And we'll have to see where that goes, really. They've only started lobbying, so the UK is falling into line generally with the EU on what they're doing, but the EU's still got the same issues that I've just highlighted.
Sorry, I'm back. Okay, number two, is the right to repair really effective to combat climate change?
Okay, I think basically that's down to engagement, you know, how many people can really get engaged with it, and the evidence that comes for it before you can actually prove that it's effective. That's something that we've got, again, within our model. Our model, to briefly remind people, we've got a training product that we want to roll out into the network training centres around the UK in different regions. Within that, we're going to teach quality, a qualification, and you can get certification, but qualification for repairing white goods. And then that's done, that links into our appliance safety register. Our appliance safety register is where all the appliances are registered. And that could be large white goods, but not too far ahead in the future, it would be smaller goods as well. And that would link then into a community platform and link the repairers to the local communities and help divert those items to local repairers who are registered and professional or certified as well. So that's a kind of broad brush picture of how we see that going, because a lot of the goods are actually getting shipped away from local communities through the big compliance schemes. I've got some data that I might share. If I can come back and share my screen. Let's see. Okay, let's share that. Hopefully you can see that. This is an ongoing survey that we're running at the moment, and that's going to be used to feed back into consultations that we're doing with the UK government on product safety and on waste prevention. So we see here, citizens have got problems with repair costs. That's what actually ends up creating waste. And having run a charity for 10 years at the coalface with 3 charity shops and a 14,000 square foot warehouse, we've seen that repeatedly. If you don't get the price point correct, people just end up buying a new appliance, and therefore you've got more waste. And so the cost of those repairs can be reduced massively if you follow our lead in trying to make community repairers home-based, but working to safety standard, which obviously, as I said before, would get them leads using our register. So here we can see that 91% of people, are basing their decisions on the cost of repairs. So that's quite important with all the lobbying that's going on as well, because whilst you want access to spares, what's the price of these spares going to be? We've got methodologies in our systems to try and use recycled spares. So if we can get big numbers from the communities in repair, we can lobby government collectively and try and reassure them that they will only use the correct spares, and reveal they'll work with us, give data to people who are registered. So that can impact the climate change, because in our model we capture the carbon saved, the waste saved, and the social outcomes saved as well. So that evidence is important in that respect. I mean, the other element here that's come up in this survey that might be of interest as well is how important is competency in appliance repairs. And we see here again 86, nearly 87% of people saying that they would be concerned if the appliances were not repaired by an independently proven competent person. So that's a strong indicator we're getting that safety is important to consumers. If that's important to consumers and the data we can provide is important, then yes, it would become effective. Another aspect that we found very useful is that diverting these goods locally to the repairers, as I said in the model, is a concern, because 44% of people are letting those goods go away from the community, so that people delivering a new one, taking the old ones away, selling them back to us at a price close to a new one, and that people won't pay those price points for that. They'll rather buy a new one. But they welcome an opportunity to have that intervention locally, i.e. divert those phones, those laptops, those cameras, those white goods, all the small appliances to a local repairer who is living in the community and works to a safety standard. So that's very important again. And if that happens a lot more, then we get a lot more data once again, showing the evidence of the impact on climate change that individuals and communities are bringing to the table. And probably the last slide there, we found that this is important because we want people who register with us, and it's a mandatory part of becoming EEESafe registered, is to report your data that you repaired. And if we're reassuring people they're using the correct parts, we don't get product conformance issues, and we lower that risk anyway, and we lower the risk of something not being the right part, because we want to be working with the manufacturers. And so this is quite important to them when they're buying a used appliance. They'd like to see a repair history, which again we're building in.
How can companies guarantee product safety if customers use the right to repair scheme?
Okay. Right to repair scheme, remember, it's only just a right to repair. So it's not a scheme of repair that authenticates repair is done properly. It's just that, hey, I've got the right to repair my item, yeah. You know, does the consumer have the right to know who's repaired it? Does the manufacturer have the right to know who's repaired it? And I would think that that's certainly true. They should. I mean, they're keen on, and they spend a lot of money on product conformance. So testing houses, I think like you find in HQTS, but around the world, and certainly in the UK, ensure these products meet the safety standards before they put on, required before they put onto the marketplace. So that's going to, if that gets tampered with, poor repair, then it's not going to give any guarantees to companies that the product's safe. They have to measure the competency, and that has to be externally assessed rather than just internally assessed. Like a qualification, we assess a person externally based on national occupational standards in the industry that we operate in, and that gets verified internally, it gets verified externally, and that means that the person has been met and passed the qualification, got a certificate. And if that's something that we could bring to the table in repaired items to the manufacturers and give them that assurance once they recognise that, to get them to recognise that, I still have discussions with them. And I think if we get the numbers up, they'll take a lot more notice. And certainly the new consultations that are out and where we're getting that data from to submit to it should give them some reassurances that we are on their side, as well as on the side of those who want to repair. So that's very important to get those guarantees. And government policies from people like in the UK, the DEFRA and the Office of Product Safety Standards, they certainly engage with us. They know about us. And I certainly attend meetings as a member of the Business Reference Panel at Westminster. And so we keep them up to date what we're doing. I'm really hoping that these new consultations will start to bring us something different. But these issues of product conformance and competency are very important. And that's what I think is the best way to have a measure of that for companies to be happier that their product is still safe to use. Right to repair on its own is not going to do that. Safety is always going to be an issue. We've seen that from information we've had from the Environmental Audit Committee at Westminster in the Commons. So on the back end of that, this consultations are out. So we're pursuing that and gathering data which seems strongly evidence towards what we're saying. So I think that's the best way.
Okay. Question 4. How can companies work with local communities to ensure the proper use of right to repair?
Right, okay. Interestingly, I mean, I've been working on a model for a few years, and we don't have any funding, so development happens quite slowly, but it's making progress. It's a very useful tool that's going to be available to help answer that question. As I said, right to repair only provides the legal right to repair. It's about, is the product then safe, and how can we engage the communities in doing that? So, you know, the other questions I think I mentioned earlier on, do the customers have a right to know who's repaired it? And the data that we're getting at the moment shows that they're keen on knowing that. What standard are they going to apply to that? And that, again, that's something we've been working on for quite some time. And don't forget, we've got in the company about 50 years experience, 40 of which have trained over 4,000 people on how to use to repair white goods safely and have that some competency. But competency measurement comes separate by registering with EEESafe, but we can bolster that together in our model. And do these people know what they're doing in right to repair? How does the consumer know what they're doing? We put an article out about on that as well, to give people some considerations that it's not quite as easy is what some people may think, safety being a key factor, and also keeping the cost down, as I said before. So I think the manufacturer and the consumers have a right to know who's repaired their appliances as well. But in our model, we have a built-in social network which will run within each community where people live, and it's solely for running your community and run by the people themselves. You get to that via the appliance safety register onto what we call the locality platform. And in that platform is an online shop where we can gather in the spares, the proper spares, the manufacturer's spares in a recycled basis. We can gather in through a business directory, businesses and consumers, and capture lots of data about repair and anything else that reduces carbon emissions. And we can capture all that, display it by person and by community. And that can be scattered around. Well, there's about 8,500 communities in the UK by electoral ward, which is how we break down people that register appliances with us. And we hope to build those communities up into the waste prevention sector, into the repair sector, but with a number of other apps in a single marketplace belonging largely to the community. So that's how we see that best working together. And that way, I think we're supporting the manufacturers, we're supporting the businesses because they will have metrics, and we donate money from that marketplace as people use it. And that's transparent and you can see that. So there are incentives in a community like that, which, remember, is coming from an appliance safety register, which is the innovation that we've come up with some years ago. And linking it into the training, of course, it could operate separately, but the training is a holistic model. So everybody is a stakeholder in the community can get access to local funds that are being raised, donated by EEESafe and by the businesses that interact through the business sustainable business directory, which is part of that solution. And we've got some good mock-up designs all done for that. And in some presentations, I've illustrated that in the past. But I think really to that question, that's how we would see companies could work with local communities and help prevent those goods going away, which are 44% collected already, and fixed somewhere else where the jobs are elsewhere. We want the jobs where people live. So we're going to be showing that happening in that environment. And I think, we've got a whole lot of tick boxes in that kind of model. And that's how I want to engage community. We're looking for a trial community project at the moment. Got some meetings with some consultants, but that's ongoing. And it may come into fruition, but there are other irons in the fire. And so we want to try that out. And it's all linked into repair, waste prevention and valuable social outcomes that are manifest on that community platform. So that's how we think it's.
Last question. What do you think is the future for the Right to Repair initiative?
Well, I think the Right to Repair initiative has got to have to come to the table with the safety, which I've already talked a lot about. I mean, you imagine, I don't see a lot of empathy from them with the manufacturers, which is what we're trying to show and work out a solution for all sort of people. But safety is an important aspect. We've got to respect the IP that belongs to the manufacturer. So if somebody that was doing repair as a volunteer discovers, oh, I know how that toaster works now, and then goes off and develops a toaster, let's say a 4-slice toaster that can have 4 presets of how you like the toast done, and it can be done in 10 seconds on all 4 of them. And they've designed that themselves. They're using some critical materials and mixtures and sensors at various temperatures. And that's the only way that it's going to work. So, I mean, how would they feel then if somebody started repairing that and then damaged the brand, because it wasn't repaired properly? That's kind of where we come from. And I think you have to respect the manufacturers are building these products, and they need to be reassured. So I don't think Right to Repair is going to survive as it stands unless it actually starts to come to the table I mean, yes, you've got the right, as I said earlier, so you've now got the right, but that's fine. But everybody else has got a right to know what you're doing with it. And that's where you've got to be transparent. And until they change that and move the shift towards that kind of scenario, I think they're always just going to be lobbying all the time. We have to come up with solutions. I thought about this many years ago, and I've carefully thought through a solution that can be complex but simple, depending on what angle you're coming from. And so I think that's very important. And I believe the future myself is going to become brand specialization. So for repairers where they live, being experts in a particular brand and in a particular category, if you've got these guys living at home on the neighborhoods where they live and they're working to safety standards, they can get the training they need just for the brand specialization, and they can cut the cost down by walking around, cycling around, do a block of flats, look after all the appliances there at a really low cost, utilizing recycled spares that are the right spares with competence behind them. And therefore, we need to see, I think, seeing that in the future, that's going to help us become more sustainable as a community and a country and a planet if we're all doing that. And we need the manufacturers on board to support that. And we're not going to get them on board if you're going to tinkle and tamper with things that you don't know nothing about. Yes, you might be able to fix it. I'm not saying there aren't good fixes out there. It's just that citizens and manufacturers need to know that you know what you're doing. So that's where I think it will go in the future.